Jonathan Butler, welcome home. It's so good to have you. We've noted you've been commuting a lot.
Yeah.
From the west coast of the USA to the west coast of Africa.
I have, man.
We're just wondering if you're buying a house. And there's a rumor, has it?
Yeah, I have a home here. Yes, I do have.
Is that a recent acquisition?
It was a recent move. Yes, I needed to. COVID came around, and during COVID, it was so. I had a lot of time to think about that.
Is it a house or a home?
It's a house. It's a home. I mean,
well, a home means you're gonna settle.
Well, eventually.
But it's
I'm
be
61. I'm waiting till maybe 65. Then I'll be able to. Are y'all listening? But I'm thinking about the next 4 years. I'll be able to spend time here in Cape Town at home. And spend time in LA. My kids are there in Los Angeles. My grandkids are there. So I'd like to, and we can just work out the touring schedule. And then I'll be able to.
But you can't retire from the career that you've chosen.
No, this
is
not a retirement. This is not a retirement.
100 years old, you're still going to be around the world playing your guitar.
I have I tell people all the time, I'm going to say it here today, this morning, my whole purpose for living is to make people happy. And what I've been given makes people happy. So I want to make this world better through music, make people happy. So there's no retirement. It's just for me to come home finally here at Cape Town. It's like I can't describe the feeling. Just to know that I've planted a stake finally instead of just staying at a hotel and then going back to the States. So it's a nice feeling to have.
You've been all over the world. You've seen so very many towns, but is this really a case of Oos West tastes best?
This is it. Cape Town is the best and most beautiful place. I feel so blessed that I was born here. This is like, I bring people here every year. So when you see me, I've got like 40 Americans that come with me. Yeah. And they stay at the Mount Nelson, and, we keep them, we're busy around the Cape like 5 days. And then we fly to the bush, Hoedspruit, and do the safari thing. And it's worked out perfectly. And like I said, during COVID, I was really, I said to my manager, I need to do this now. I really feel like I need to do this now, So it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I was recounting my very first experience of you. It was at the Lakshmarama Theatre. It was with little Ronnie Joyce. It was with Mr. Peterson. It was
Lionel
with Richard John Smith.
Richard, yeah. Colin Ricketts and all those guys, yeah.
I don't think my mom really wanted me with, but she didn't have a nanny.
Yeah.
So I had to go with, and she was with two of her girlfriends. I can't remember who the third one was, but the other one was Auntie Ruth. Yeah. It was a backdoor neighbor. Yeah. And I got an asthma attack because they were throwing their underwear at Richard John Smith.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, a man with so much chest hair, it's it's like almost like Tom Jones.
And that afro, man.
And an afro the size of this room, I wonder what was under there. There must have lots of ego under that hair. I'm just kidding. He's a friend of mine. But Richard was like, Lionel too. Lionel had, it was almost like a competition between Lionel Peterson's afro.
And Ronnie's wasn't bad
And Ronnie's was just as good. From Bok Makiri, that was good hair.
And you were what? 11, 12?
I was about 12, but I didn't have good hair. I had Belgravia hair. My hair was a little suspect because the afro didn't really want to expand. So I had to use like all kinds of stuff,
I've got a caller on the line for you as well. Jonathan Butler.
Is it my sister?
I'm
not here.
And he wants to talk to you, but you're going to need your headphones for this purpose. Okay. Alan in Tableview, Jonathan Butler is listening to you.
Hi, Clarence and Jonathan.
Hello.
You chatting and being on the radio here reminds me of my late dad who had a business opposite the Belleville station.
Okay.
Selling records and that sort of stuff. And
yes.
We did mainly for the black and colored trade in those days in that area there.
Yeah.
And you and Ronnie Joyce came and stood on one of his counters there and sang a couple of songs.
I remember that. There was a lot of fans.
It was in the 70s.
Yeah, in the 70s. I remember that. I think I still have photos of the I have pictures
and
of all of that.
And then we also had, not at the same time, forget his name, Michael Roy of Botershaw.
Richard John Smith.
Richard John Smith, yeah.
Richard John Smith,
He also came as well. Not on that particular day. You and Ronnie Joyce were singing there.
Yeah, I remember. I'll never forget those years. Those were
That was
unbelievable.
when you were a youngster.
Yeah, I'm still young, but in my
Yeah, young at
in my
heart and young in our minds, but our bodies don't carry everything that's
There's somebody laughing at me when I said I'm still young. I'm just kidding.
Nice chatting to you and all the best.
Thanks, brother.
Alan,
Thanks
for
a
your
lot.
call.
I
It's
appreciate it.
It's appreciated.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So I think everybody in the Luxorama, including me,
Yeah.
at that young age, knew that there were great things coming. But there's also lots of pitfalls for people going into the industry. A lot of people have.
Yeah, I've you know, it's like people, you know, what they see today when they see me today. You know, I think that's why I think it's important for me to I always tell artists, tell your story. When you're on stage, you have an opportunity to tell your story. Your music it's just not about your music, it's about your life story. So I talk about, you know, growing up in Belgravia. I talk about growing up poor. I talk about the outhouse, you know, the toilet, the shack, the shanty house. I talk about, you know, the years of molestation and abuse, and I talk about, I tell people the truth, you know, like this is how South Africa used to be when I was little. You know, as a kid, most kids that were 7 years old were sheltered and protected by their parents. They went to school. Me at 7 years old, I was working. I was a working child for my parents. I sang. I gave my mother my envelope, 20 Rand or 25 Rand. And I talk about all of these things, and I talk about the drug years when I was, you know, I knew every cartel drug dealer in this town by name. I still remember their names. I still remember that running away from Boothair and Kat Jochum's, my God, Weedle, and running away in high heel shoes, sitting there smoking buttons with these guys. And I share this because it's important for me. It's also cathartic for me to let go of these things but also be real about what is your life and the passion I have for music, and to see other people kind of connect with me. When I talk about molestation, I've seen people come up to me and just, you know, weep and cry because they were too scared to tell this story. They were too ashamed or embarrassed to tell this story. So they see somebody they love singing and they support my career. And here I am just making it very gracefully, you know.
Did that guitar save your life?
Oh, absolutely. The guitar, and, you know, I spend more time with playing that thing in the room and sitting at home. Of course, smoking at the time, but yeah, that was it. You know, I never knew that the guitar was going to turn out to be something that people, you know, would really embrace. Just like, because all the early hit songs were vocals. Please Stay, I Love How You Love Me, you know.
Paris,
Lies, you know, lies all taken care of me. But the guitar finally became, it's almost like Stevie Wonder and a harmonica and his voice. You can't separate the two. George Benson is the same. You can't take the guitar and the vocal and separate them. They're all one instrument. Yeah.
Listen, I got a question from Ireland as well.
From Ireland?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hi, Jonathan. Your Going Home recording with the late George Duke is my go-to song on YouTube. Amazing. Are you joining Foreplay, Stephen from Ireland?
Oh,
am cutting to the chase.
Foreplay? I just finished a record with Foreplay. We did an album together, and there's, you know, I think the guys are still trying to figure out. Bob James is on his own, you know, doing the Bob James trio thing, and then Nathan East is doing his thing with you know, he's with everybody. Eric Clapton, he plays with everybody. So for me, when I came into the whole picture, it's like, okay, we need like a little. We need to get a tour together. You know, we made the album. The album is incredible. And so, you know, and of course it was big shoes to fill. It's like Lee Ritenour was the first guy. Then it was Larry Carlton on guitar. Wow. And then Chuck Loeb was my dearest love. I love Chuck Loeb so much.
But you are there. You're at the pinnacle of your career.
But you know, listen, man, I'm a student, always buying, always listening, always trying to check out, you know. But nobody there in the States has the kind of sound and approach and technique that we produce in South Africa. We have a very unique sound from East, West, or Southern Africa. It's just a unique sound.
Just how would you describe it if they ask you about your sound and how you stumbled on it? What is your answer?
Well, first of all, for them to have received it for all these years has been amazing. You know, But they describe it as because they can't put me in a box.
Yes.
So they call it, they call me a world music artist. They say, your music has like the R&B, it has pop, it has all of these Brazilian, all these, these elements. What do you call it? And I said, well, I call it world music. I'm a South African who plays music from different parts of Africa that I grew up listening to. Township music. I grew up listening to. Alan Queller was the very first guy that I listened to that really freaked me out on the jazz guitar before Wes Montgomery was Alan Queller. So I was like, oh man, this is so Klopse music. There's another influence. A major part of the influence was Klopse music, in the way that I play. It's rhythmic, Like somebody said to me, some musician said, "Hey, this piano. Do you think it's a piano, or do you think it's a drum?" And this guy's, well, it's a piano. He says, no, this is a drum. This is a percussive instrument. Everything about the strings is all percussion, unless you're playing violin. Like my wife, who's a violinist, she's amazing.
And she's home with you at the moment?
No, she's not with me. She's kind of bummed that she's not here with me. But I needed a little bit to just come and, spend some time with my buddy over there. Where is he?
Mr. Colin Durry sitting in the corner on that side.
Yeah, but my music is definitely, it's even more world,
I saw you again then after that, 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
Laksharam, I saw you again at Club Montreal.
Oh my gosh.
And I was sharing before you came in, the Monty Weavers, how that club had pulled in musicians that were not allowed at the time to play on the same stage.
Richard, what was his name? Drummer, white guy, Richard.
I got it on the tip of my tongue.
Richard Pickett,
of course.
Pickett.
And amazing music was made, and you and your left hand was just absolutely awesome. I was just, what? You weren't the singer anymore. The guitar had possessed you by this time.
I kind of stopped singing because the buttons was killing my voice, and so I was losing my voice from smoking, getting high, and so my tone had completely disappeared, and my tone returned years later when I, became a Christian. I completely turned my whole life around, and once I had stopped doing the drug thing, but during the days of Montreal with Tony Schilder and Monty, the guitar was it. I was like, I think people were posting videos on Facebook of some of the gigs I did with Tony and Paul. Like there was an amphitheater, and I looked like a pilot. I had this, yellow jumpsuit on, and I remember looking at that thing. I was playing faster than I ever played now. I was just trying to be the speed king. But those are the guys that I stand on the shoulders of. Monty Weaver, Tony Schilder. There's so many guys, man. Russell Herman, Bani Rajabani, Dennis Ampali. All of these guys were so instrumental in my development.
It's going to be remiss of me not to ask you about Pacific Express and what it meant to you.
It gave me the opportunity to step away from pop music and become a jazz musician, because that was really my ambition, or my desire was to play music that was no longer pop. I didn't want to be associated with pop music, and so, and by the way, I was in love with Jack Montbley and Titch and Bongs or something. They had a band from Durban. You remember that band?
Yes, I do.
What was the name of that band? They were very progressive. They were jazzy. So that was kind of like, I'm playing with Jack Montbley. Oh my God, used to be Chris Schilder, but of course he has Abdul, I think.
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim. So Ibrahim was also one of the people that I just like. I kind of looked up to as a father figure.
Absolute
So
genius.
that was a really special part. Zayn was a big brother to me.
And Chris was the prolific writer at the time, wasn't he?
He was the architect of the whole thing. And so Paul Abrams, I stayed with Paul in Bonneville.
Bless his
these were just, and E.C. Arafdeen lived in Matroosfontein, right in front of Tony. Tony Silas' house.
I can just see how you're lighting up when you're remembering these times.
These are like amazing times, how I developed and how I really came into my own and loved what these guys represented. I mean, they were like the older brothers that really protected me in that whole situation. And I want to kind of, I looked up to them. They had families, they had kids. That's what I wanted.
A message in, I think Mr. Butler is being modest. He's up there with the best guitarist in the world. That's what I'm saying. It's his season. So when we're talking the names that he's just spoken, it's on that level. He's at the pinnacle of his musical life. Stephen, I agree with you absolutely, completely. Tell JB my Boere granny, I'm going to read it verbatim. My Boere granny had both arms and legs in the air going wild at the 3 arts for him and Lionel Peterson, Little Ronnie Joyce, and the gang. Loved it, says William. Then we got a voice note in. You're going to need the cans for the voice note again.
Oh, my God.
Jonathan. So Joe's got a voice note or two. Let's take a listen.
Clarence, in those days, you were a youngster, and now Jonathan is just young.
Hi Clarence, Jonathan speaks about he had Belgravia hair, but those days it was gesê het kroeshare.
Yeah.
But today they've changed it because everything from Afrikaans has become more English. They say, they may see many crucifixions. Thanks, Sean.
There we go. So you heard of the crucifixions as well. I wanted to just talk about gospel. I know there's a new album in the making as well. Clearly, the creative fountain is still flowing strongly.
Oh yeah.
When are you gospel and when are you jazz and when are you pop and when are you R&B?
I mean, it's the same well. All the music comes from the same well. Comes from my heart. And so, but except with gospel, it's all about what I feel in that moment that God is telling me to write. I never even wanted to flirt with gospel music because I felt it was more about the life that I live than the music that I sing. Because sometimes these you got these gospel artists that write gospel records, produce gospel music, but their lives doesn't in any way justify some of the things that I reflect what I've seen. So for me, I think it's all coming from the same well, man. In the same time that I'm writing a jazz piece of music, I could hear something like, Falling in Love with Jesus, for example. I was just going on the hike trail. I was walking around hiking, and during the course of me hiking, I started singing this melody that just came, and I kept singing it over and over again,
And Stevie Wonder says he wish he had written it.
I couldn't believe it. And to see him and hear him sing it, it was like unbelievable to me. It was like the best feeling. And so I just think everything from gospel to the music that I write, it comes from the same place.
From the same place.
I think if people can understand that, God is love. He loves everyone. He loves everything that I'm doing. As long as, I do have a line in the sand, though. I'm not going to write certain types of lyrics or certain types of things that doesn't edify.
It's going to be a celebration of love.
It's got to be a celebration of love and bringing people together. That I'm, like that. The new album that that's coming out in April. It's called Ubuntu. And Marcus Miller produced my album here in South Africa. Actually, we started the record in Joburg. Actually, I started the record at Aki's studio here in Cape Town. I started writing stuff, and Aki opened up his studio for me. And then from there, Marcus and I did the record. Started in Joburg, and all of the music is during the COVID period. I started writing some stuff with duet with Keb Mo. I did a duet with him. I did a duet with Russell Ferrante. It's a beautiful piece of music. So it just comes from the same place, man. It comes from the same place.
Top of the morning, Jonathan Butler for president. Please leave the politics. His song "We Need You, Lord" has served as an inspiration throughout my life and helped me to face many storms. He's so gifted. He remains humble. My dream is to see him perform live with an orchestra, Moira in Bloberg Strand.
Nice. Well, there is in the works me coming home to do exactly that type of concerts.
Wow.
So
exciting.
we will be doing, playing in a couple of different cities.
Brilliant.
And it will be orchestration, and I'll also bring some guests, some
of your
Christian friends from gospel artists, like B.B.
Like
Winans,
Like Chuck.
Like
And Lee. Oh, yeah.
I mean, just changing up. I host a gospel show on the jazz cruises, which is very inclusive. Whether you're Jewish or Muslim, whatever. We literally, Najee is part of it.
And that's out of Miami, is it?
We sail from out of Miami to. So, I think it's all about God is bigger than what we talk about sometimes.
Another message in my favorite Jonathan Butler song is Love Doesn't Matter Now. Absolutely fabulous, says Jenny. Roger said Jonathan Butler is a legend. Absolutely a living
Love
legend.
doesn't matter now. Yeah, when I got divorced, I said, yeah, love doesn't matter now. Yeah. Love doesn't matter. After my divorce, I said, what the hell? Love doesn't matter now.
And look at you now. Love is all that matters.
But I'm happy. I'm happily married 4 years to a beautiful lady from St. Louis. Yeah. And honey, if you're watching, I'm talking about you. I know you're sleeping right now. Yeah.
You've got a hectic touring schedule.
Yeah.
Give us a sense of how many performances you'll do in a month.
God.
A week if it's easier. Or a day if it's easier.
A month, I could be gone like 6, 7 shows a month, 300 shows a year, just
wow.
On the road. Yeah, on the road. Right now the traveling is getting up to 61, the traveling can get a bit crazy.
So the summer season in the Northern Hemisphere is like the Christmas season.
Yeah, it's busy.
Does that stretch into Europe as well? Do you find your reach growing there? I certainly get a lot of requests.
I get a lot of requests to go to play in Europe, and but it's like weird for me because the stateside is where I'm the most busy. I mean, the summer tours, the festivals. As a matter of fact, I'm actually hosting my own festival now in Palm Springs. They're called the Desert Jazz Festival.
And when is this happening?
This is happening September.
So can we come around?
It's from the 28th to the 1st of October. And then I fly home.
Are there any comps?
No, I mean, it's like, I've been actually hosting my own festivals in Chicago. Now I'm doing something in the desert because it's closer. The people in LA and San Francisco, they can just, drive
I'm coming.
down. Yeah,
I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm going to lead a tour.
Busy.
I'm going to lead a tour.
Yeah.
And fortunately, people are going to be able to see you in Cape Town as well over the next couple of days. Tomorrow night, you're going to be, the nice thing is that you're taking it to the people, and the people love you so much, and they are so appreciative of you bringing your music being accessible.
Thank you, man. I think it's important that I do that too. I do realize that we always come here and do the big festivals and and the VIP things, and but there's a lot more cities I'd like to visit. I'd like to go back to Paul.
And the real love is in the townships.
It's totally
the real love that has stood the test of time.
Yeah. I mean, let me gaan op in Matroosfontein, but en laat my gitaar steel.
Are you serious?
Ja, laat
steel my
gitaar, ja. En my LP's ook. Laat my gaan op die mense. Maar gaat ek vir hulle speel môre aan. Ek met 'n nuwe gitaar.
And that's at Elsbury, is it?
No, I used to live with Tony Cedars.
Yes.
So I was on a bicycle riding, across the freeway. So these guys just pushed me over and took my stuff and my bicycle.
Yeah.
Man, shame, man.
What is absolutely amazing is...
there's a story you guys didn't know, but anyway.
And Matroosfontein Reunion Festival has been, I think it's the second year now, but it's been just wonderful to see how people who have come out of that community, made a success of their lives, are coming back and celebrating that beginning for them, and for Jonathan to be there. It's just such an amazing thing tomorrow. And then next week as well, I've just noticed that people have booked from Windhoek, from all over sub-Saharan Africa, to be at Titi's Bay on the West Coast.
I've heard of that festival.
And they are I've heard of it too.
I've heard of it.
Looking forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, my sister sang there. Sandra
sang there. Of course she
Jazz
does.
on the Rocks.
Yes. I want to go there to that family, the Butler family. Everybody mega talented, and you mentioned your mom and dad. What role did they play in your musical life?
My family? Well, I mean, when I was little, a little boy, Danny and Sandra were like my brother Pontes, oldest brother Pontes, and Danny and Sandra. They were like the people that traveled. you know, with the Dixies, and so I was very fascinated. That had a lot to do with my love and excitement for music. And you know, during the winter nights when it was very cold, we used to make a galley outside and keep warm. And it was around this galley that we would all sing and take turns to kind of hear who has the harmonies, who has the tones and stuff. And so as a little boy, I used to every so now and again chime in, you know. And my mother used to also promote her own shows. So everything had started there in Belgravia for me. It started in the house, you know. Whenever there was no food, there was music.
Somebody was saying this morning, in fact, it was my colleague on breakfast this morning, his producer was saying, I thought Jonathan lived in Elsie's River. I said, you know, sometimes so-called colored families can be complicated. Maybe he had two arms, but I'll ask him.
I never grew up in Elsie's River. I was born in Athlone, Belgravia. Yeah. That's where I was born. And you know, some people, they'll come up, they'll say, man, I went to school with you. And that's such a funny thing for me because I remember being in Standard 1 for 4 years. So I don't remember these guys. So.